Well, we got another day, another celebrity divorce. Oof, let me tell you. I hate to see it. I just hate to see it, y'all. I hate to see it. But y'all know we back in the building. This your boy DJ Richie Skye back with some, a little bit of news, a little bit of commentary. We're gonna give our opinions and thoughts on it, from the perspective of reality television show lovers. That's what we do here on this channel. Listen. We are going to talk about this Real Housewives of Atlanta divorce shocker that just occurred mere about an hour ago, okay? Well, at least the news broke an hour ago, okay, as per the social media accounts. We're going to get into it. Don't you worry. We're also going to talk about Claudia Jordan. Claudia Jordan is back in the news. Listen, your girl is always making headlines, and we're about to tell you what she had to say about Nene leaks, okay? So we're going to get into that as well. Before we do all that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and drop that location in the chatterization. I want to know where my people are from. We got North Carolina in the house. We got Boston, Danville, VA. Who else we got? Miami, Florida, Alabama in the place to be. Jackson, Mississippi. Who else we got up in here? Tampa, Florida, London, UK. Hey. Let me check on this audio real quick. I'm going to change my audio real quick. Here we go. We got Greenville, South Carolina. Philly is in the chatterization. Chicago, Canada, Tacoma, Washington, Lancaster, Texas, Richmond, Virginia, Dallas, Texas, Pasadena, California, Atlantic City, Syracuse, Kansas City, Philly in the his not eat, Brooklyn, BX in the place. Who else we got up in here? New York. Come on, Richmond Hill, Ontario, Miami, Florida. Okay, somebody said the audio was good. Okay, let's get it cracking. Okay, so moments ago, literally moments ago, and I think the first place I saw this was Atlanta_Housewives. I always like to shout out my people and where I first saw the information from. And then I went to go check out the sources themselves. Now, you guys may recall your girl Falynn, okay? Everybody was saying Falynn gonna make the next great housewife of the Atlanta, okay? She made quite the splash and quite an impression on people. She did some interviews that were very well conducted. She's just seemingly had the entire package, and quite frankly probably still does. You don't have to be married necessarily to have the full package. And there had been rumors and murmurings of a divorce from, or at least some type of separation from the husband, Simon, okay, for the past couple of weeks, okay? And one of those places we heard that from was actually from our girl, LaToya Ali. Now, if you guys head on over to the Peach Report Daily from just a couple of weeks ago, around the time that the reunion was being filmed, when it was thought that LaToya was not going to be at the good reunion for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, we see here that they were actually, talking about the drama that occurred with allegedly Ralph Pittman's barber coming to LaToya's room. And so they posted about that on the page on the Peach Report Daily. Let me go back and like this post right here. Make sure you guys like and follow them as well. And so Falynn posted, "Someone violating your space and privacy didn't feel too good. Now, did it? Hopefully a lesson was learned." So then LaToya responded and said, "I was invited to your hubby's empire. I got kicked out, and so did you." Okay. Now, right here is where LaToya was indicating that there was trouble in paradise, which the streets have been talking for a while anyway. Okay. So Falynn wrote here in the comments, she said, "Little baby and her edges be reaching. I got you, girl. Let me give Kenya a call." So then LaToya responds and says, "Who you need to call is one of them 3 baby daddies, hunty. Simi," I'm assuming she was calling him, she was saying Simon is about to go back to his ex-wife. Okay. So I wanted to provide you guys with some historical context for this conversation that we're having right here. Okay. So now we head on over to Instagram and we see a post from Simon, and I believe he posted his first. And it says, after a year and a half together, Falynn and I have made the mutual decision to end our marriage. Despite our willingness to be transparent, we respectfully ask for privacy at this time. Thank you, Simon Gubadia. Okay, so just to dissect it a little bit, he indicates that they have at least been married for a year and a half at this point. Now, when I watched the show, I thought they had been married longer. And maybe I was not paying attention. I don't really know. But I thought that they had been married a much longer time than that. Okay? And on the show, you guys may recall that, and even in her speak on it with Kandi as of recently, you know, LaToya was very, very much on the whole tip that Falynn, you know, was allegedly, you know, I mean, she tried to basically paint Falynn as a gold digger, so to speak. But thank you for the super chat, Dr. Lillian. We thank you for that super chat. Okay. So here's what Simon had to say. So obviously his was posted first. Okay. And now we're going to move over into what Falynn posted. Okay. So for Falynn, she writes this: after 2 years of marriage and 5 years of friendship, Simon and I have made the difficult decision to go our separate ways. We are deeply thankful for the impact we have made in each other's lives, as well as the bonds formed with each other's children. This mutual decision was not made lightly, and despite our current willingness to be transparent, we only ask our friends and supporters to be respectful of our privacy as our family gets through this difficult period. I would like to say thank you to all of my supporters who have shown a great deal of love for our family. You do not go unnoticed. Falynn Gubadia. So I hate, first of all, to see she was great for the show. We had a super chat from Cora Brown, sending hugs. Love your channel. Thank you so much, Cora. We appreciate you and the love, and send it right back your way. You know, this is sad to me because I just feel like, you know, I think somebody said it in the chat, divorce is never easy, you know, and it's sad because what I saw on camera and what I saw in photographs, I definitely liked. But it just goes to show that sometimes everything that you see, you know, in a photograph or in a video or a post on Instagram is not always what it may appear to be. Okay, what it actually is in real life. You know, I don't know if the show had anything to do with this, or if there were already, I'm sure there were probably already issues that already existed within the situation, but it does seem like things were escalated after, you know, what we saw on the show. There's no telling what else was going on. And I hate to say it, but this is one of those situations where I wonder if it may have been better that she was never on the show, you know, just for the sake of her being, you know, just having a more anonymous life, or maybe having more privacy. I don't really know what the case may be, you know, and it's interesting to me because in everything that we saw, she never addressed any marital issues in interviews, not in her speak on it, not in any of the interviews that I watched her on. And it was almost as though it went untouched. Now, I will tell you, there was a Bustle article, and I'm going to go back to that real quick. Give me 1 second to pull that up. And I'm not going to pull it up on the screen per se, but there was something. Yes. Now, this was just from 4 days ago. Okay. So this Bustle article right here, I'm not going to pull it up, but I am going to hop back on the screen. There's a Bustle article right here, and it says Falynn Guobadia shuts down rumors about her marriage. Now, at the time, and this was, again, just 4 days ago, because as you guys may know, they had been doing the follow and unfollow, which is never a good sign for a couple. Okay. Then there was the deleting of the family photos, or really the photos of each other from, I think, her Instagram. And then I believe at the time his might have stayed up. So then she addressed the speculation in an interview on the Jasmine brand on March 31st. And she says that the rumor came from a miserable person. And we assume that she was referencing LaToya. She said, Simon and I would go through our marital issues just like everybody else. Everybody has their own ish, whether we unfollow and we follow back and we delete our stuff or whatever the case is, just let us go through our stuff. We're just like everyone else. We're normal people. Okay. Now, for a lot of people, they felt like she didn't explicitly answer the question. But apparently the interviewer, Robin Ayers, chimed in and said that the couple is still together and people should stop looking so deeply into it. And Falynn simply replied with a confirmation. So, you know, to me, it's interesting. Again, I do want to state this, though. You know, for people who are in relationships at the grown-up stage of your lives, and I do mean the grown-up stage, and I'm just going to say maybe the grown and sexy stage of, you know, 30s and on, I'm going to tell you like this. If you're getting into a serious relationship, you're getting into a marriage, listen, your relationship in terms of what happens on social media, don't do the follow and unfollow, especially if you're in the public eye, because what that does is, and we saw it happen a lot with Porsha, and we knew that wasn't going to last, right? That's always an indication that there's something wrong in paradise. If you don't want people to speculate on the goings on in your relationship, then don't do the follow unfollow thing with your spouse. I just think that it creates a whole lot of issues that are unnecessary. And it is usually a decision that is based on extreme emotion. You got to learn how to master your emotions when you're in a relationship in general, especially when you're in a marriage, and those types of things cannot go on. Now, upon divorce, yes, it may be wise to unfollow that person then. But otherwise, keep that stuff off of social media. That's just my thought, okay? I want to move on into the Claudia Jordan story because we got some interesting stuff. Thank you. Just mute the person. Thank you, Nisi D. There's a much more politically correct way to handle a situation versus blocking them, specifically your spouse. Just mute them if you don't want to hear what they have to say or if you don't want to see their photos. The odd thing is, most likely, you're still going to have to run into them around the house. Okay. So to me, the social media stuff is the least of your concerns. Okay. Go to marriage counseling first. Just a thought. Anyway, let's move on into Nene Leakes and Claudia Jordan. Okay. Now, a lot of you guys may recall, you know, Nene Leakes and Claudia Jordan didn't have the best of times together on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. But, you know, at the reunion, or at least after the reunion, there seemed to be some type of, you know, small reconciliation, you know, nothing too, you know, major, but it did seem like they had come to some type of common ground during that season's reunion. And ever since then, it's been a little bit of a rocky road here and there. Now, you know, as far as Claudia is concerned, Claudia has had the innate ability to continue to reinvent herself, not really reinvent herself, but she's had the ability to be flexible in her career path and been able to swerve and maneuver with the changes as they kind of go along. And so now she's fully settled into her role at Fox Soul. And so she's able to kind of have a lot of conversations about pop culture and that sort of thing, which seems to be her sweet spot. Now, Nene Leakes, on the other hand, is just entering this new phase of her evolution, I should say, as a businesswoman, as a mogul, and she is entering a whole new phase that is outside of the realm of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, you know, anytime you leave one field and one industry that you have made quite a mark on, it takes a while to sometimes get the engines running to start anew into a new space. So a lot of people have been wondering what's going on with Nene. What is she doing? Is she, you know, doing something with Zeus? We know that she's opening the Lanithia Lounge. She just did a post on social media, I think it was yesterday, where she was indicating that she was looking for servers and, you know, that sort of thing. So things are moving in Nene's favor, but they may not just be in front of the camera. However, Claudia Jordan is giving some interesting tea when it comes to her thoughts on Nene's career. Okay. Now, during an interview, and this is, if you guys want to head over to Showbiz Cheat Sheet, you can find this article. But in a recent interview on the Dominic Natti show, okay, Claudia says that Nene is irrelevant without Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay. Now, according to Claudia, she's saying that Nene grew too big of a head and mistreated too many people along her journey to success. She says this, quote, "You didn't create the show, but you were really a big part of the show becoming successful." She then goes on to say, "To go from nothing to something, then to something great, and to have burnt so many bridges where no one's rushing to the rescue, it's sad. I hate when I see people sabotage their own career with their attitudes or their behaviors. On your way up, if you want to act a certain way, people are going to remember on your way down. She shot herself in her own foot by doing that." Okay. Now, it's likely that she may have been asked about Nene Leakes, which is why she's commenting on it. I know a lot of times people will feel like, well, you know, why is she talking about her? And sometimes she's asked her thoughts or her opinions because that is what she does in pop culture. So, you know, any interviewer is probably going to be asking her those thoughts and her thoughts on what's happening, particularly as it relates to Real Housewives of Atlanta, because she was once a part of the franchise. Okay. You know, it's interesting because Claudia also said that Nene got away with a lot of, interesting behavior. And she feels like that's what, you know, contributed to Nene's demise. She says this, quote, "When we did the show, she would walk out of scenes all the time. And I'm like, how the F is she still getting a check? I can't walk off my job and expect to still get a check at the end of the week." Okay. According to this article, apparently she says producers orchestrate a lot of the drama on the show that she couldn't see herself being a part of moving forward. So let's get into the discussion about it. Okay. And it's very interesting because, you know, we've definitely heard about sort of, I want to say, they call it diva behavior. And we had this discussion, I think it was yesterday, when we talked about Brandy and, you know, talking about Kenya Moore and how she behaved on set of Family Reunion on Netflix. And I did say there will be a lot of times when we hear about diva-like behavior coming from some of our favorite reality stars, particularly when they get on set and how they treat people, this, that, and the third. So we'll always hear about those types of things. We've actually, I think, you know, in some instances seen where Nene has walked out of a scene when she's gotten ready to, or when she's gotten fed up with something. We definitely saw it happen when she was in Greece. And so I think a lot of people, you know, kind of feel like Nene put herself in that position to sort of make the network or the production company want to take a step back from maybe working with her. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's always interesting. I will say this, you know, one of the things, and it's not, listen, and I'm going to tell you the truth. It wasn't that they just said this about, that people have said this about Nene. They've also said it about Vicki Gunvalson from Real Housewives of Orange County, which is why she had a similar situation happen to her, like what happened to Nene. You know, Vicki on Orange County was demoted to a friend, and Vicki had been on that show since season 1. Okay. So Vicky got demoted to a friend. She actually took that spot. And what I believe is there's always, I think, this idea that the Housewives should be, bringing in fresh talent, that sort of thing. I think that there's a little bit of a two-way street here. In some instances, I think like with Vicky, sometimes the network or the production company can inadvertently create a monster. I'm not calling Vicky a monster, but what I'm saying is a lot of times Vicky would say to cast members, "We'll get off my show. Okay. It's my show." Right. And so when you have that type of attitude, it's obviously because you've been catered to for so long in such a way that the person, is almost led to believe that they run the show. And so then when it becomes apparent that, oh, no, I'm not running the show, they want me as a friend. What? How can you do this to me? So I think it's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship that, has to stop becoming unhealthy well before it gets to that point. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so we've seen this happen before, and they even tried to make Tamara into a friend as well, but I don't think that we haven't heard that Tamara was that type of person that had that type of attitude and, treated people like that on set. So again, when we talk about these things with Nene, we can only talk about, what we see on the camera, right? And then we go by secondhand experience, which is what we're having here with Claudia Jordan. This is her experience that she's telling us. Likely at the request of an interviewer. It is interesting to note, and I will tell you one thing that I've always learned is I had a brief period where I thought that I could, be a model. I wasn't trying to be a runway model, but, there are certain cities where you can model and you get a lot of industrial work. So it's work that goes into like pamphlets and brochures for corporations and companies and stuff like that. And so I'd gotten into, this small little segment of the modeling industry where that's possible to do. And I know a lot of people make good money from that. And one of the things that I remember, I will never forget it to this day. I will never forget it. It has stuck with me time and time again. Like it has served me well in my journey. The head of the agency sat us down and she said to us, listen, she said, when you get to that job, your number one goal is to do the job. She was like, you show up, you bring yourself a book, you go sit in the corner, you wait until your time is called for you to go in and do your thing. You do your thing. Don't cause any trouble on set. You are there to do a job. And the people that continue to get hired are the people that are well liked. So be well liked, okay? So in hearing her say that resonated with me as I maneuvered throughout my career, going to LA, in DC, to LA, to Miami, to back to DC. It has always served me well to be easy to work with, okay? And to be well liked. Now, that does not mean that you let people run over you. No. You stand up for what you believe in. I've had situations where I've walked out the door, where I've left production companies because I felt like I wasn't being treated right. I didn't know if that was the right decision, but those were the right decisions for me. But you've never heard me badmouth that production company that I walked away from. And they did, and I felt like they did us dirty, okay? But I would never say the production company's name. I'm not going to talk about them like that. Brandon Gant says, I've often wondered why other work seems to have dried up for Nene, though. What happened to her acting and TV hosting gigs? Well, let's talk about that, okay? Because that's interesting as well. Now, in the past, we have heard, okay, the word on the curb, and I believe it might have been from Charlemagne. Don't quote me if I'm not correct. But it was some talk that it was at the time, I think Charlemagne did an interview with Nene on The Breakfast Club, if I'm remembering correctly. And if I'm correct, chime down in the comment section down below. But it was alleged that it was because of Wendy Williams or Wendy Williams' team that Nene was not able to get her talk show. And then at the time last year, I believe it was also alleged that she believed that there was some powers that be that were stopping her from being able to do other types of work in the entertainment industry, which was part of the reason why she was so upset last year. So there is something that's going on, but we just don't know what. So I'm assuming that maybe along the way, she may have rubbed the wrong person the wrong way, or the right person the wrong way. And maybe someone is behind the scenes, not advocating for her or not wanting her to do things, or it could be prohibitive because of her contract. Sometimes when you're entering a contract for a reality television show, when you leave that show, there's a grace period of time for which you cannot do anything else in the industry that is similar to the work that you were doing on that show. So it could be a lot of different things, a lot. We had another super chat come in. And I'm just kind of giving you guys my estimation of from my experiences within working in the entertainment industry. Okay. Sherry says, hi, Richie, just wanted to show you some love today. Thank you so much, Sherry. We appreciate you and send you love right back. We had a couple of other super chats come in. Yes. Tashara says, you catch more bees with honey than vinegar. That is the statement that I feel like, yes, I do believe this too. Kandi is well liked, okay? Which is why you typically see her continuing to get gigs. People want to work with her. You have to be the person that people want to work with. That is the way that you continue to maneuver in this industry. And I'm just looking at the super chats here. We had some come in. Lala Chanel says, if Claudia feels Nene is irrelevant, she's making her relevant by answering questions about her. Well, there you have it. And I think that there's probably an element of Claudia that also kind of knows, what makes a good headline as well. So that could be at it as well, because she's typically in the headlines a lot. So, maybe that's part of it. And those headlines, whether people want to believe it or not, they tend to still draw people back to the shows that she's on, because whether people say that they like her or not, they will continue to watch. Most likely, that's usually the way it works. Kevin Thompson Ministries, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. We had another one from Doulaman who says, where can I watch your episode of Stripped? That is on Bravo. I think I put it in the link in the description of all my videos, but I will pull it up on the screen. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. Here it is. I'll put it up on the screen for you guys. Give me 1 second. This was a... Okay, you guys can watch that here. And I'll put the link in the chat. All right, so that's there. Thank you for that super chat. I think we had one more come in. I just want to see if we did. Okay, NC Old School says, who's Claudia? She lasted 1 season, so Bravo didn't like her. It could be Nene's time has run out, while Real Housewives of Atlanta popular people wanted Nene. Thank you for the super chat, NC Old School. We appreciate you. It's interesting, this world of reality television. I think, I will say this, and I think we might have talked about it either, was it yesterday or I'm not sure. What I will say, oh, hold on, we got another super chat come in from King Leo, who says Nene's reputation may cost her. Ryan Murphy loves to reuse his actors on various shows and hasn't hired her since Glee or New Normal. Thank you for the super chat, King Leo. So, the interesting thing is this. Y'all know I'm a rooter. I root for people. I want everyone to win. I think that the great things that I can say about both Claudia and Nene, I think with Claudia, and as I stated earlier, Claudia has the ability to learn she's learned how to be flexible within this industry, and she's learned how to pivot really fast. And that's something that you have to learn how to do, because while she did last only one season on Real Housewives of Atlanta, she was able to then pivot from working, on the Ricky Smiley show to moving, I think, to Dallas to host radio, and then moving into her own shows and building out shows on Fox Soul, which, listen to me, what we need to look at is this. A first season of a Housewives show, you may get about $1,500. Well, in LaToya's case, as a friend, $1,000 to $1,500 to about $3,500 to $5,000, depending on your name, per episode for the season. So if we come down to it and we have, let's say you're making $3,500, I'm going to do the math times, let's say you get 21 episodes, you might have made about $73,500, right? Where a lot of that money, you're going to have to go and budget it back into your wardrobe and stuff like that in order for you to have the look that you want on camera and the look of someone who looks amazing on camera, right? But then you think about it this way: when you pivot into, radio, you could be making, 100 G's off the rip, you know what I'm saying? 100,000, for your first year. Because she already came into the situation with a name. Let's say even if she was making 50,000 to 100,000 and you're doing radio, it's not like you got to be dressed to the nines all the time. So a lot of that budget will go back to you and to your own expenses. But then you take that and you maneuver that into Fox Soul, and then you start doing all of these other shows, and you might be making X amount of dollars per episode, a couple of G's per episode. Now, to me, it's not necessarily just about the look. I mean, because you'll get a good look on a reality TV show, but you might not always get the coins. The coins usually from reality TV will come from other business ventures unless you get longevity on that show, right? So for me, I feel like if she's able to trade that one coin and make a bigger coin doing all of these other different things, I'm going to say go for it and make your money over there. So I feel like she's had the ability to pivot into some really lucrative career opportunities. So that's the benefit for her. Now, on the flip side of it, we look at Nene. Whether or not Nene was difficult to work with or not, my hope and prayer is that Nene was able to, reserve her money, invest it wisely. And it sounds like she has. She's coming up with her own, restaurants. I don't know if she's going to bring back the swag, if she closed them all, or if she's going to keep some of them open. I don't know what's going to happen with that. And I'm sure she's invested in several other business, endeavors. It's just about now, how does she pivot in the world of entertainment, right? So I'm sure the dollars are there, but she needs to, be able to generate more dollars. So I think it's just going to take her some time to, one, get out of the confines of whatever contract she may have been in. And this is speculation, of course, but she takes the time away to get away from that specific contract type, right? Because it could lock her in for a year and a half to 2 years where she can't do certain types of shows. Some people can avoid that. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Some people avoid it, but so you get that positioning, and it may take her a while to pivot before we see her the way that we need to see her again. So I hope that makes sense for people who were kind of wondering, what they do after the show ends, even if they only lasted a season. We had some super chats in the building. We had Sharon, who said, I'm calling shenanigans on all of NBC Universal reasons for parting ways with Nene. Second, how come reality TV personalities can't get SAG benefits? That's a good question. I don't know why. I think it's mostly because SAG is for actors, and they don't really consider the world of reality television acting. So there's that, even though we know that there's a lot of acting that goes on a lot of these shows. Thank you for that super chat. We got Rebecca G, who says, being liked can most times get you further than your talent. Say it again, Rebecca. For the people in the back, say it again. Being liked can get you most times further than your talent ever will. And trust and believe that is usually the case. I know plenty of very talented people with very bad attitudes in this entertainment world. And you just be thinking to yourself, wow, like you would be so much further ahead if you were actually nice. Bella Jones says, why is it okay for the whites to do it, but Nene does it and it's wrong? And yes, Lisa and Wendy was hating on Nene's come up. I'm not necessarily sure. Are you talking about like leaving the scene, like leaving scenes and stuff like that? It's not okay really when anybody does it. You know, let's be clear about it. It's not okay. When you exhibit behavior like that on a set with professionals, a lot of things you mess up at that point. But I would say that if we look at someone like a Teresa, if we want to look at someone like her, who traditionally doesn't leave the scenes, but she has done some very problematic things on camera, I think it is mostly because they rely solely on her for the franchise's success in New Jersey. That's really it. They waited before they let a whole year go by while Teresa was in jail before they even came back to another season. So they knew, or they feel, that the success of New Jersey hinges on Teresa being on the show. Unfortunately, I feel like in doing so, again, you create a monster. But best believe it will happen to the best of them. Okay. So just watch out. We have NC Old Soul says, I'm not knocking Claudia's hustle, just that she can't talk about Nene because Nene has lasted more than one season. So at some point, Nene was like, yes, you are correct. You are absolutely correct with that. I think that I was just trying to display to people who may not realize that sometimes it's also about, you know, how you maneuver and what kind of coin you can also get once you leave the show. So in doing so, I feel like Nene has the capability to be able to pivot and to also get the same type of success in some other way. Like, let's look at, and this is kind of off the subject, but first of all, I want to say, NC Old School, you know I love you, and thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. If you look at Bethany Frankel, and I don't know how many of you guys may have seen that she has a new show called The Big Shot with Bethany Frankel coming out on HBO Max. You know, she's a great example of how you leave the franchise, you pivot, and you start to do other things. And she had already had her own production companies before she left Housewives. So when it was time for her to go, when it was time for her to pull that trigger and make that decision, the network didn't know, the cast didn't know. She made that decision right before filming was supposed to start. And I felt like I wish that Nene had been taking those same precautions, but she still has the opportunity to do so, right? We had a couple more super chats. And yes, I do believe that Nene was well liked. I feel like she's also well respected in the industry. But I think that also, too, again, I feel like somewhere along the way, she pissed somebody off. And I don't know who that was or whether she did, and it could have been unintentional, but somebody was pissed off. Because if you look at it last season, they were willing to sacrifice making a good show because they wanted to keep her role to a minimum. Something wrong with that. Just E says, my understanding is she has an upcoming deal with Zeus Network. She tagged them in a post this past week at the lounge. That's what we also had, kind of referenced as well, is that, there may be some work involved with Zeus. And I think that, for Nene, it could also be that she ends up behind the camera, creating shows and developing shows and, being lucrative on that front as well, because, a lot of Real Housewives of Atlanta was casted because of her network of friends. So why not do that again? We had another couple of super chats. Bella Jones says yes, but they went and got their own shows, and Kim too. That don't make sense to me since this show has been a flop this season. Good point. Good point, Bella Jones. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, we talked about that this weekend, Bruce. Thank you for the super chat. Who says breaking producers of Real Housewives of Atlanta will be pushing for Phaedra to return season 14. I tagged you season 14 cash shakeup. Yeah, I've seen this story. We talked about it this past weekend. You know, Phaedra. Again, I want to see Phaedra if she's bringing something new. You know, Phaedra to me wasn't as transparent as I would have liked her to be, although she did bring a level of shade and obviously drama to the show. I just would have to say that I don't want to feel like we're just getting recycled Phaedra, okay? Because what I saw of her on WeTV and that was it Marriage Boot Camp or something like that, and her and Medina, that relationship just didn't seem too real to me. So if I'm not going to get the real on what's going on with Phaedra Parks, I don't want it. But if she's going to be real and transparent, then bring it on. Okay? That's how I feel about that. And here's the thing too, everybody. We can't rule out the idea of fresh talent, okay? If the talent comes in with dynamic personality, with their own story, with things going on, with life experience under their belt, you know what I'm saying? Then that's all we need. That's it. It's simple. It's casting. It's casting. That's it. So, and they got to be transparent. We had a question about Zeus. I think it's $3.99 per month. Okay, said it was $4 per month. So that's not bad. I don't think it's bad at all. I mean, that's less than a coffee at Starbucks. So, you know, let's bring in some new people. Let's you gotta always be bringing in dynamic, fresh talent, you know. And production has to be on point too. You know, production has got to be on their game. And hopefully now that, you know, people are getting, you know, their vaccines and stuff like that, hopefully the filming process will be a lot smoother moving forward. Okay. Now, that's the news for today, y'all. Thank you so much for joining in on our chat, our conversation. Kat Kels, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. Thank you to everybody who joined the chat today. I appreciate you so much. I really, really do. I'm telling you, like, y'all make my day every single day. With that being said, guys, listen, enjoy your day. Get out and enjoy some sunshine wherever you are. You know, hit up your friends, talk to somebody. Life is too short. Make sure you guys stay safe. Thank you, El Bray, for the super chat. And I will see you guys. Oh, we got another one who says they need to scrap the whole cast and bring the same formula that started the show. Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, stay safe out there, you guys. And I will catch you in the next video.